Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another episode of The Gloving Paradigm, where I am your host Peter aka LPD Dubuque, the cringiest glover on YouTube, because nobody watches my stuff anyways.
What? What the fuck?
Yep, and that's how I'm pretty much going to be starting my episodes now.
A few moments later.
So, what is it this week that I want to cover? Well, if you guys aren't reading the titles of my episodes, you'll know that I am continuing on with another installment of my On Storytelling series.
Oh yeah!
Yeah, I know it took me forever to do this one. Trust me, I know, because, in all honesty, I was having a difficult time trying to talk about storytelling and gloving. Because I don't feel like I do that in my performance, or at least I can tell you I'm not actively trying to do that with my mind while I'm performing. Yeah, it's kind of one of those stories. So, yes, I understand this took me a long time to do this. However, if it wasn't for recent episodes of content being produced by YouGotMoves.com, which if you're not watching, you need to be watching, because if you have any respect for this art/dance form, you would be watching gloving content. But, whatever.
This is why I choose to get C's.
So yes, what is it in storytelling this time around that I want to cover? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because I've been sitting here thinking, okay, what's a way that I can take storytelling and break it down to a smaller component? Instead of just being the overarching thing of the entire show from beginning to end, as most people want to talk about, I want to take a aspect of storytelling and apply it to a small portion of gloving.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
And I found it. It dawned on me in the middle of the night while I was at work, but it finally dawned on me and I wrote down this episode immediately. So, the mini 3-act structure. What is it? It's very simple. Okay, so first thing you need to understand, what is the mini 3-act structure? It's basically a model that follows the 3-act structure that a writer creates their story series of events with. So, what do I mean? First of all, 3-act structure is basically a literary tool / guideline / whatever that pretty much helps people outline their story from beginning to end. It gives you all the little plot / story points from beginning to end. It helps people kind of do that. Now, there is a mini version of this for a very good reason. And it's because this is what is known within the literary world as the mini 3-act structure. It is a good way to structure, most commonly, your first chapter with. Usually, your first chapter. I have seen people use this between the first 3 chapters being set up in this fashion, where each first 3 chapters are actually each part of the mini 3-act structure, which is totally fine. Makes it a lot easier for some people and allows a little bit more breadth.
Oh.
This also gives a way for the author to show how their stories are going to handle things in a rudimentary way. So there's so many things that it helps sets up. It shows you how you can handle, well, one, your writing in general, but how you handle your tone, the mood, the theme, your setting, the characters, the plot, all that stuff. Within your first chapter, most people want to see how well you're going to be able to handle that, and you've got to demonstrate that somehow within your first chapter. Again, it's not a law-abiding rule when it comes to writing, but this is something I do want to to elaborate on.
Well, we're waiting.
Okay, so if you need an example of what is a mini 3-act structure in terms of a story, you need to understand the 3 points that come with the mini 3-act structure. So, what are the 3 points? You have your introduction, you have your exploration, and then you have your resolution. Okay, so what do I mean by these 3 points? Well, when it comes to the mini 3-act structure, what it's asking for in terms of conflict. How do you introduce your conflict? How do you explore said conflict? And how do you resolve said conflict?
Wait, what?
Great example that I'm going to use is from the Percy Jackson series, in the very first book from Percy Jackson. How is the conflict introduced? He finds out that his teacher is a monster. How do we explore this conflict? He fights the monster. How does he resolve the monster? He slays the monster.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to use this excerpt from Percy Jackson. In the very beginning of Percy Jackson, we get introduced to the conflict, which was His teacher becoming a monster. How do we explore this conflict? He fights the monster. How do we resolve the conflict? He slays the monster. That's literally what happens within the first chapter. Okay. This is the model we're looking at. Introduction, exploration, and resolution.
Wow.
These are the points that I want you guys to think of. How do we cause the conflict to occur? How do we explore the conflict? And how do we resolve it? That's literally what you need to understand. Now, with that all being said, how does this apply to gloving? Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, how is he going to do this? Allow me to explain. If you take concepts like tutting, liquid, digiting, dialing, clusters, blah, 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 blah. These are chapters within your storytelling. Does that make sense?
No.
So if you approach your concepts like they're chapters within the story, using the mini 3x structure, it gives you an idea of how to utilize storytelling within your show. How do you introduce your concept? How do you explore your concept? And how do you resolve your concept? Is basically your application into gloving when it comes to storytelling and the mini 3x structure.
Wow!
So now we know what the mini 3x structure is, how we are going to apply this to gloving. Let's break it down even further with our introduction. Okay, so when it comes to introducing a concept, it's very simple apparently to a lot of people. It's just introduce it, just start showing the concept. However, to a lot of people, and I will certainly say I will try to at least find a couple of my own shows that I can point out where I feel is not a good introduction, or as some people will see it as a good transition. But to me, your resolution from one concept into another concept, that's the transition. But you are also needing to introduce the new concept as you're resolving said concept, if that makes any sense.
A wizard did it.
So, first things first, you got to introduce your concept. Well, how do you introduce a concept to your viewer? Well, if you're starting out with the concept right now, keep it simple. There's this reason why this bell curve thing in the 3-act structure or any form of storytelling works so well is because progression. People feel the sense of progression from simple to complex back down to simple. It's still progressing even when you're reverting backwards. You still get that sense of progression. That's basically the same thing here. You have to start out simple. So let's say we're doing finger tutting. You can start out as simple as this. You can even start as simple as having your fists together like this. And all you have to do is just start introducing the concepts of tracing, hinging, pivoting, rotating, and all that stuff. And start showing them different things. And then you start adding in other things like wave tutting. Adds a level of complexity to it all, doesn't it? And we start adding more fingers and more digits and things of that nature, so on and so forth.
All right, I get it.
It's pretty much how you introduce it to your viewer is where it's going to start out. That's why when you see a lot of people transition into other concepts, it still does not stay in this super complex thing unless they're in the meat of the show. But again, that kind of goes into the overarching 3-act structure thing as it is, and we're not going to get into that. So, the other thing I also want to point out is how long is your introduction to the concept. Most of the time, it shouldn't be that long, but you shouldn't be doing something as simple as something like this, and then all of a sudden go into some crazy ass things that, you know, has some weird ass things going on in it that are very complex. No, you gotta build up to that point. You gotta work towards that. Okay? And just overall, how complex the concept is pretty much a way that you need to understand how you want to introduce it. Because if it's just something that's so naturally complex, maybe in resolving a concept in a complex, a little bit more of a complex way that transitions into your new complex concept, it's probably the way you want to go about it. But that's pretty much how you want to talk about when it comes to introductions, is that I tend to want to try to keep it simple, but certain concepts are very complex, so you gotta understand where the simplest point of the complexity is. If that makes any sense. Alright, exploration. Now, the second part, when it comes to exploration, this whole thing when it comes to exploration, this is pretty much where you can go nuts. This is where you can use your creative juices and activate the big brain. to come up with these really complex concepts. Not only that, you are showing your understanding by exploring the concept, by showing where you know it can go, where it's able to go, and where it can't go. That's where the exploration comes into play. That's where you see a lot of people do some really cool stuff and they kind of work into it before they move on to the next thing. So, like I said, if you demonstrate from simple to complex is pretty much the best way you want to go about it, and I will stand by that statement till the end of time.
Okay.
Not only that, here's the thing I also want to tell you. That when you're exploring a concept, be careful with your pacing. Go too fast, you're going to lose your audience. Go too slow, your audience is going to get bored. Or they're still not going to understand what's going on. And they're going to just be confused either way. So, carefully demonstrating your progression from simple to complex. And not only that, being able to keep the pacing proper for the complexity to be digested properly by your viewer is very important. But complexity can stay simple if the concept is simple in nature. You know, there are ways to make something very simple look extremely complex. Not only that, just like I said about a lot of Broadway musicals and stuff like that, those people make things look so easy when in actuality it is not. That's kind of one of the things you need to understand when it comes to your exploring of the concept within your show. Now, final part, resolution. How you resolve your concept. The way you finish your concept should follow the same kind of view of how you started your concept. If that makes any sense?
No.
So, like I said, if you started out simple, you end it very simple. If you transitioned into it very complexly, then transitioning out of it in a complex way is a good way to go about it. Do you have to do it in that fashion? No. But it is something to a lot of people, they feel like it's a full circle kind of thing.
Because it's a circle.
You know, they come around full circle, and that's how they feel it's complete.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle.
Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hey.
One major thing I was going to say when it comes to this point, especially when you're transitioning into a new concept, you need to show through your transitions that you're ending a concept while also introducing a new concept into it. That's where when you see some people are doing like King Tutty and all of a sudden they go into a little bit of dials and then into clusters in its own set, they use dialing as its transitional point into the new concept. It was showing resolution to one concept of tutting and showing an introduction of the new concept into clusters, if that makes any sense.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And of course, like everything, your resolution is so paramount for your show to make sense. Therefore, your resolution to the concepts are essential for your concepts to make sense. Okay, I don't know how much more I can stress on that, and so many people don't really see it necessary. Some people can just see ending the show as just ending the show. No, I can certainly tell you so many people will feel lacklustered after watching your show if your endings just, you know, like, I don't know. I guess it's just my personal thing, but even when I see it in my own personal shows, when I just kind of like end like that and walk away, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like a good way to end it, but, you know, some people enjoy that. So, at the end of the day, what is it that we learned about the mini 3X structure? Well, first of all, it pretty much takes the big model that shows you for your entirety of show and breaks it down to a point where you can work with it to understand how to apply it to the bigger picture. And the mini 3X structure is the perfect way to do that. So, you take the 3X structure, which is your beginning, middle, and end for your entire show, and you put it into a single concept, which now is referred to as your introduction, exploration, and resolution. Okay? So, this is how you're going to work on your storytelling. If you're able to show me a concept from beginning to end with a good introduction and how you explore it and how you resolve it, it's going to help you start working towards, oh, well, this is how I want to introduce my show, this is how I want to explore the plot points of my show, and this is how I want to resolve my show. These are ways for you to help learn that. So, I pretty much covered everything in my episode for today. I know this might sound a little cuckoo to you guys, but trust me, if there's any other well-known Glovers who are watching this, please confirm or tell me that I'm crazy for saying this, but this is how I want to show how people can learn from outside sources. And storytelling to me is very hard to talk about because I know storytelling in terms of writing, not so much in terms of gloving. Like I can tell you when I'm seeing storytelling when I see it. But if you're asking me how to teach somebody to do storytelling, oh boy, just throw that out the window because that's not going to happen. Maybe, I don't know. But yes, that pretty much covers everything in my episode. I certainly hope you guys enjoy what I had to say. Thank you to everybody who's shown their support so far by either subscribing, liking, sharing my content, because none of you guys do the Patreon thing anyways, even though it's right there.
Okay, you need to let that
Oh
go.
my God, no one cares. It's so boring every day.
But yep, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's shown support to my campaign, conquest thing, insanity, journey, quest, I don't know.
12 seconds later.
Thank you for supporting whatever this is. But yes, I just want to say I love you guys. But I am your host, Peter, aka LPD Buke, the cringiest Glover on YouTube, and I'll see you guys all next week.